Welcome into another video. We're Ryan and Megan. We're traveling physical therapists, and today we are answering some questions about health insurance. Do you even have it as travelers? How do you cover gaps in your coverage? And other questions related to the topic. So join us.
So one of the biggest questions that we seem to get as travel therapists is, do we have health insurance? There's like this little myth out there in the world that travel therapists or travel nurses don't have any health insurance given to them. And that is not true.
No, you actually almost always are offered health insurance through your travel agencies. We've never run into a travel agency that doesn't have a health insurance option. Now the key here is that you are insured through the travel agency and not through whatever company you're working at.
I think that's a big point of confusion for people, because you might be working at a hospital and traditionally you get your insurance through that hospital, but they're not technically your employer. Your employer is your travel company, and so they are going to offer you all your benefits, which a part of that is health insurance, dental, vision, all of it.
Yes, and it's actually pretty nice because if you stick with the same travel company from contract to contract, you can have pretty seamless coverage unless you're taking a lengthy time off between contracts. But having it through the travel agency is beneficial because they will keep you covered between one contract, your travel time, and your start time at the new contract.
And so it works a little differently with each company, and so you want to make sure you ask your recruiter how their specific health plans work. Some of them will cover you from day one. Some of them make you wait until the first of the month. So say you signed a contract halfway through a month, you would have to wait until that next first of the month for it to kick in. Again, they cover you with health, dental, vision, so you can opt into any of those and enroll. And once you're enrolled, then they will deduct that appropriate amount, whatever they charge you for your premium, from your pay. Mm-hmm. So like a typical job, it's very similar. The coverage is very similar. A lot of times they use the same big companies that you're familiar with getting insurance through at other jobs. So it all works really like normal life. We used the healthcare from the travel companies for our first, I guess, 2 contracts, right?
Yep.
And they were longer contracts. Our first 2 contracts were 6 months each. And so once we had them established, we were covered.
Yeah. Now, one of the disadvantages of taking coverage through the contract company is when you switch contract companies. So between our first job, our first contract, and our second job, we switched, which meant our coverage changed. And when you're traveling, you're on the road, so you're not at your home address, and that's where everything gets shipped to. It gets typically sent to your home address with your new insurance cards. Now for us, we had family who was receiving that mail and could send us pictures, which was helpful. Usually you can use a picture of an insurance card and get the process going. But if you have somebody else receiving your mail or you're not getting it weekly, then it might be a while until you have access to those cards. So there's just a little bit more things to consider in the logistics of receiving the actual cards to start your new care under new insurance.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a hassle. It's probably one of my least favorite things about travel is we highly recommend working with multiple different recruiters and travel companies. But when you do switch from one travel company, take a contract with them, and then go to a different one, take a contract with another company, you do have to switch your insurance. So your insurance ends with your contract, and then you have to re-enroll for the next company. They have different pricing. They might use a different health insurance carrier. You get all new health insurance cards, vision cards, dental cards. And so it is a little bit of a hassle to switch. And especially if you're switching every 3 months, it can be one of those things that you don't enjoy, but you are covered with health insurance. It is an option out there.
One nice thing, especially for vision and dental, is that your benefits basically start over like they would at the beginning of the year in a typical job. So typically, if I wanted to go get eyeglasses, I would use up my benefits for the year and I'd have to wait until the next year. But with switching insurance companies, I could get coverage for eyeglasses and then switch a company and get coverage for eye contacts. So that's one nice little perk that's thrown in there if you use it.
Does it actually do that?
Yeah, I'm about to do that with my eye contacts.
Asking your recruiter about the different details on their health insurance policy is huge. I know when we switched over after that first contract to a different health insurance, it didn't start till the first of the month. So we had about a 2-week period where we weren't covered by health insurance. So then a lot of times we get the question of what do you do if you take extended time off between contracts, or if you're like our situation where we didn't even take much time off. It was just a weekend to travel to our next contract, but the new insurance didn't start until the beginning of next month. At that point, you are covered by this thing called COBRA. COBRA is a retroactive insurance that kind of plays off your previous insurance policy with your contract, meaning it's going to cover you retroactively. So if you had an emergency like a car wreck or something that you needed hospital services, then you can then apply for COBRA at that time retroactively and be covered. Now, the premiums on that are very expensive, but you don't pay them unless you need them. But they are very expensive because your employer doesn't pay their portion of the premium. You have to cover the whole cost. So there is some travelers that choose to do this. We chose to do it for that 2 weeks between our contracts until our coverage kicked in. We felt like we were young and healthy, and for those 2 weeks, risk adverse. So no crazy mountain biking or too crazy of adventures for us. But we did have insurance to cover us if something horrible happened to us to fall back on, but no no normal doctor's visits, that type of stuff. And so there is a lot of travelers that choose to go that route, even if they take extended time off. I've seen travelers and advice given that if you're going to be extended time off for more than a month, then look into other healthcare options to cover you. But anything under a month, you can definitely look at COBRA and see if that is something that you would want to risk and choose to do. So it's different for each person, and you kind of have to evaluate for yourself to see if you would want to go that route. Now, if you wanted to take extended time off, maybe greater than 1 month, or you're feeling a little uneasy about the COBRA thing and you want to be covered for those in-betweens, there are some different options you can choose.
So a couple other things you can look into doing is just carrying your own insurance through the marketplace. So that's going online, going to the insurance marketplace, picking a plan, paying for the plan, and then essentially you could have that year round. It just depends on your preference. So that would mean that you wouldn't have any lapse in coverage. You wouldn't have to deal with the hassle of getting new cards, figuring out which providers are covered through the insurance, stuff like that.
And if you go online, they have a lot of different price points and different coverages, and so you can kind of customize it to what you are wanting or needing. But if you did go with that plan, what you would do is then not enroll into whatever your next contract's health insurance policy is. You would just say no thank you, and you would be covered by your own health insurance.
Now, a good tip to know is that most contract companies let you opt into medical, vision, and dental all separately. So that's something that we've chosen to do. We don't go with the contract company's insurance option, except we do opt into their vision and their dental. So we've got coverage elsewhere, which we'll talk about next. But for vision and dental, we choose theirs, and it's nice because it's relatively cheap, but it gives us the coverage for those annual exams that we want to make sure we get to, and those eyeglasses and contacts that I need to order here in the next couple days.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of do a hybrid of using the travel company stuff, using their stuff. We've talked to different travelers who will opt into the dental and vision some of the time, and then save money on other times. So
Yeah.
you can really customize it to whatever your needs are.
So over to the third option for health insurance coverage, which is what we chose to personally do, is you can look into health shares. Now this technically is not health insurance. It functions similarly. It gives you coverage for health events, but it's not technically health insurance. And we just liked this option better because of the stuff they covered, the kind of things we thought we would need coverage for, their price points, and so far we have loved it. So this is another option you can look into for coverage, especially if you're planning on taking time off in between contracts. Because that's one of the perks of being a traveler, is being able to stop work for a couple months, take time off, enjoy your time, and keep going. But you don't want to have to worry about health insurance coverage. So,
Yeah, that was our big thing after we finished our second contract in Arizona. We kind of got to think of, well, we might want to start taking some time off between contracts, go exploring and adventuring. When you're exploring and adventuring, there's a greater risk of injury, even though we're pretty healthy people. We wanted to be covered by something that wasn't COBRA. And so that's when we started looking into the marketplace plans and then health shares. And the health shares just kind of seemed like a better option for us and our style of how we wanted to live life. And so we found a really great company that we're working with currently and have been for almost a year now. And they cover all of our health needs except for dental and vision. But the company is looking to add that, which is exciting. That's why we use our travel company's dental and vision side of it. A pretty competitive rate, was actually cheaper than some of our travel companies we've worked for.
yeah.
What they were charging us, and our coverage has been excellent.
Yes. So if you're curious about which one we're using, we've been working with Zion Health, and we have a link down below that you could follow to look into the details of that health share. Another reason we considered looking at the marketplace or at health shares was for pre-existing conditions. So if you have a pre-existing condition, which could be like heart conditions, it could be family planning, it could be a lot of other things, you don't really want your coverage to lapse, because if you happen to need care for your heart condition, but you haven't been signed up under your health insurance policy, typically for at least 2 months, then they won't cover it. So that varies by plan and by condition, but it's something to consider as we're a young married couple who would be considering family planning in our future. And as travelers, that's something we had to consider with our health insurance coverage. So that's another major reason to look into getting your own plan.
Yeah, we've really been enjoying Zion Health Share for multiple reasons. It operates in a very familiar sense where we have cards, Zion Health cards, that we can give to our healthcare providers, just like an insurance card. They have this thing they call a utilization rate, which kind of works like a deductible of about $1,000. And so if I go and break my leg, then I have to pay up to $1,000, and then they cover me past that. And that number is adjustable depending on your plan. Oh, and you have the $1,000 3 times a year, I think it is, before then they just cover everything. And that's what plan we're on. It's around $350 a month for Megan and I, not each, but together.
Yep. And we've paid more than that for our contract company insurance plans.
Yeah, and we haven't had anything where like it didn't cover it that normal health insurance would have. And so now obviously that's different with everyone. Make sure you read the fine print, and different health share companies work differently and they cover different things, and so you really do have to do your own research. But we would highly suggest Zion just because we've had a really good personal experience with it.
Again, you can go down below and check out the link to find out, what kind of plan you might want, how you can adjust your utilization ratio or your monthly payments and see what kind of coverage you could get. We have really liked it. We also like that, it's basically a community of people who try to be as healthy as possible. And when something comes up in their life, your monthly payment is going towards their health care, and it's just more community based, and it makes care simplified in a sense because it's just a pot of money that's paying a cash paid price. So details about health shares, but we've really liked it.
So that's kind of your health insurance options for when you are a travel therapist, travel nurse. Hopefully this video was beneficial for you. You learned that you can get health insurance as a traveler. You're not just left out to dry. There's many options for you. Obviously do all the research that you can. We just make these videos to try to inform and entertain, and so make sure you do your own research for your own personal situation. But if you did find this beneficial, hit that like button. Consider subscribing to our channel. That always helps us out. And until next time, see ya.